Hey guys, what's up? We're back with another video today, and today we're doing a Washington Huskies football prediction, so make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you enjoy the content, like the video if you enjoy it as well, and comment your thoughts and opinion. Let me know what you think the Huskies will do this upcoming season. Where do you think that they'll be at in the very competitive Pac-12 schedule? Also, make sure that you check out College Football Roundup. It is the podcast version of this channel, so with video as well. So me and American Football Network will have some weekly content during the college football season that will be exclusively on Roundup. So make sure that you check out there, hit the subscribe button, and particularly the notification bell, so that way you don't miss a video. So let's make our way over to the schedule. So with Washington's schedule, it does have a very interesting week one game. You play Boise State. You play Boise State, which I think is probably one of the most interesting week one matchups. That isn't like a really big, massive matchup like a Florida State LSU or even a Clemson and a Duke or a really any of them. I think that Washington, Boise State is one of the more interesting ones, particularly. So with this matchup, Boise State. Here's the thing. When it comes down to Boise State, I think that they're a solid team. I think that they have played well. I think that when you're looking at this team particularly, Boise State is in a decent position. And I think that Washington, obviously with Michael Penix at quarterback, has the ability to win the Pac-12. You bring back some really, really solid wide receivers. So obviously that's helpful. But so does Boise State. Boise State brings back their quarterback and Taylon Green, as well as 8 other offensive starters, though they do lose a lot of defensive pieces, including that key to the defense and J.L. Skinner, who got drafted earlier this year. I think you're looking at a team that has a lot to play for in this game, and I think a team that Boise State, they're obviously going to be very pumped up that they get to play a Pac-12 team. It obviously would have made it a little more interesting if Chris Peterson was in this matchup, but he isn't. So when it comes down to this, I think at the end of the day, I do think that Washington does get the win. I think that Boise State is good and will be better than most people expect, but I don't think that it will be a win there for the Huskies. Now, it will be a win for the Huskies, not that it won't. Then you have Tulsa coming to town. Tulsa, they're a struggling program. They just let go of their old head coach and Philip Montgomery. They have a lot of work to do on their own end, so it is going to be a win for the Huskies. Then you have a road game against Sparty. In this matchup, Sparty was it was a big win last year when you beat Sparty 39-28. You beat them at home. It was a big matchup. Well, Michigan State didn't turn out to be that good of a team. They turned out to be quite the disappointment and definitely had a lot of work to do. And I think Mel Tucker, they're not in a good position. You lost your quarterback to the transfer portal and heading to Auburn and Peyton Thorne. And I think that the new quarterback that you have, I can't even remember his name, he's just not going to be that good. I think that they have a lot of work to do when it comes to that. So I do think it is going to be a win for the Huskies. Then you host your first Pac-12 game of the year. And I think that when you play Cal, you're looking at a team that the coach he's on the hot seat. Justin Wilcox, he's on the hot seat. I think that it's a win, and I think that Wilcox is about to be out as the Cal head coach after his 7th season. To be honest, I don't know why he's still there, but I do think Washington wins this game. I think that they're in a good position. Then you have at Arizona. This is a matchup that was a little bit harder for me to pick. It is going to be an incredibly high-scoring matchup. Last year, it was a very high-scoring matchup, 49-39. Washington did end up winning the matchup, so that was pretty good for them. But this year, you're looking at an Arizona team that offensively is going to be just as good, if not better, than they were last year. And specifically when it comes to the defense, it's only going to get better from here. Like, the defense was really, really bad last year. It's not going to be good, but it's going to be better. So I do think that it is a win for the Huskies, but it's not by much. This is a game that I could very easily see them lose, and a game that you have a bye week. You're looking forward to Oregon. You have that big matchup against the Ducks. And I think that could be a big deal if Washington looks ahead and then oh boy, and now you're down to Arizona by 14, and their offense is just too good to be able to cut back on a 14-point deficit to a degree. Then you have a bye week, and then you play Oregon. I think that this is a win. I think with Oregon, you're coming off a bye week. I think that is going to be pretty helpful, obviously. I think that because you're coming off of a bye week, it does give you a little bit of an advantage. But Oregon is also coming off a bye week. And the reason why I think Washington has a little bit more of an advantage is because it's a home game. I think that makes it very helpful. Last year, Washington did beat a number 6 Oregon team at the time, an Oregon team that if they won that matchup, they were looking at a possible playoff berth, even though that they got the crap beat out of them by Georgia. You were looking at a possible playoff berth. And with this matchup specifically, I think Bo Nix, he's a good quarterback, and Michael Penix is a good quarterback. But the problem I have specifically with Oregon is that when they played teams like Washington and Oregon State, teams that are a little bit more physical down the stretch, they really struggled. And I think that Washington is just going to be able to be more physical. And I don't think that Oregon has the bodies to be able to keep up with the wide receiver core that Washington has. No matter who's playing quarterback, I think that this Washington wide receiver core is one of the best in the country. Then you have Arizona State. This is going to be a win. The next 2 weeks are pretty easy wins. I think that Arizona State is probably the worst team in the Pac-12, maybe the second or third worst. Maybe you could argue they're a little bit better than I think. But I think when it comes to Arizona State, you're looking at a team that struggled last year. And this year, I don't think it's going to get much better. I think that Kenny Dillingham, with a new program and a new quarterback in Drew Pine is not a Division I quarterback, in my opinion, or at least a Power 5 quarterback. So, sorry. And I say that as a Notre Dame fan. Like, he did not deserve to be Notre Dame's quarterback in some regard. He did earn the job, but at the same time, Notre Dame should have had a better backup quarterback than him. Then you have at Stanford. This should be a win. I think that with Stanford specifically, you're looking at a team that they can be able to – I think they'll be able to run the ball good this year. I think that you bring back – I think it's E.J. Smith, the Emmitt Smith's son. So I think that is definitely going to be helpful. E.J. Smith. So it is helpful that you do bring back a good running back, but quarterback, you got a quarterback. You lost Tanner McKee. You have a lot of pieces to replace. There's very few starters coming back, and I think that they're in a very tough spot. And I think that Stanford, they're going to struggle their first year under Troy Taylor, even though I think Troy Taylor was a good hire. If you did see me misclick, I do have you losing to Southern Cal. I think with this game being on the road, if it was a home game for Washington, that's different. I think that Washington's home field advantage would give them a big plus. And it's not that I think USC has a big home field advantage. I don't think that they do. They do a terrible job at packing out that stadium when they're not good. The LA Fairweather fans, that's just what it is. You don't get that many diehard USC fans, not really. And when it comes down to it, Caleb Williams is good. Michael Penix is good. But when it comes down to it, Caleb Williams is better. He's the number 1 overall quarterback. I hate to say it as a Notre Dame fan, but he just is. Then you have Utah, a home game against Utah. This is a big matchup. Could be decider whether you get into the conference championship game or not. But when it comes down to it, I think that this is a loss. I just think that Utah is more physical. I like Cameron Rising a little bit more than I like Michael Penix Rising. Obviously, did not have the stats that Penix did last year, but this is all based on if Penix stays healthy. If Penix could very possibly get injured and you have another 2021 season, it is very possible that happens. Like this is a team that simply could happen. And then next you have Oregon State on the road. I don't think you lose 3 in a row. I do think you beat the Beavers in this matchup. It's going to be a tough matchup in Corvallis. These final 4 weeks against Southern Cal, Utah, at Oregon State, and Washington State, man, that is a tough 4-game stretch. Washington State, in my opinion, is the worst of the 4, and it's your rival. And to play a rival, that game is always up in the air. It doesn't matter how much better a team is than somebody else. That game is always up in the air when it comes down to it. But with specifically Oregon State, I think that this is a game that it's a must-win game. You got to win it. I think that Washington bounces back after 2 struggling weeks against 2 powerhouses. Finally, you play Washington State. Like I said, it's the Apple Cup. It's a big deal. And I think at the end of the day, I think Washington has a little bit too much offense for Washington State to handle. You don't have I don't think Washington State has the same ability that it used to when they were scoring so much, but when it comes down to it. So that's going to wrap up today's video. I have Washington finishing with the 10-2 record. Let me know your thoughts on what you think Washington record at the end of the year be. And as always, hit 2 videos down below and hit the subscribe button up here. Also, if you saw my shirt, I do have some merchandise. It's coming out soon, so make sure that you check out. That should hopefully be in a future video soon. And